along the darkened hallway. Alone in the whimper.
A light flickering out of the
Corner of your eye.
a tree,
Glass against the glass.
a hush.
In the wind.
There's one sound to be
There's
heard.
one sound to be heard.
Murder at midnight. Welcome to Murder at Midnight. Tonight's episode is The Contract by Helen Jones, set in a more gothic tone. And now.
Scene 1872, winter. Written in the style of a short narrated melodramatic Gothic Victorian story. A young lord is suspected of his wife's murder, yet there is no evidence. A mystery gentleman, Mr. Vandemar, arrives at the request of the lord. Scene 1. Inside the great hall of Finbarton Manor.
And I put it to you, Lord Jeremiah Lovett, on that night 4 weeks ago, you did take the life of Lady Rebecca.
I protest my innocence, Detective Wyndham. You must take me at my word.
In this very house, in the tower room, where you had placed her in the cruelest of circumstances.
I was a desperate man. I was attempting to save her life, not take it. Please.
And it is my solemn duty to escort you from Finbarton Manor with haste to a place of security where you will
Sir, I did not kill her.
where you will remain until your trial.
But I need to be here. I need to gather proof so I will not hang.
There are no other suspects, my lord, and you had every reason, did you not, to rid yourself of her wretchedness?
It is true that on many an occasion I wished for her to be taken by that juddering fever. Cursed the devil each day. Had Felice, her lady servant, lace her evening brandy with a drop of laudanum to ease the pain. But I did not kill her, Wyndham. I will prove it.
The weather is closed in for tonight. The routes to London are not passable. I shall take a room at the Hog's Head Tavern and collect you in the morning. And my lord, do not consider fleeing, as you will not get far. You have this night to collect any evidence you see fit for your defence.
Just one night.
I have had my men search that tower room and they found nothing. One night is all you have. Do all you can.
Scene 2. Inside the Hog's Head Tavern. The winter of 1872 was unusually cold. The home fires of England burned, but their warmth barely reached beyond the hearth. Windows were denied their usual view of the world as lacy networks and crystalloid patterns spread in fractal webs across the barley sugar-thin windows. Far from the coke-choked chimney towns, the season had hit hard in the remote hamlet of Finbarton, which now wore its thatch like a thick winter pelt. Mr. Vandemar's wiry, aged frame, swathed in a sweeping cloak, had galloped with haste through the icy fog like an apparition heralding an apocalypse. The warmth of the Hog's Head Tavern hit his lungs like thick syrup as he approached the rickety, rough-hewn bar. Felice, a ruddy-faced creature whose name was an ill-fitting, elegant ball gown stretched about portly obesity, shuddered at the draught that swept him inside.
Close the door, sir. Properly, please.
Coffee. You haven't served coffee?
His stiff jaw cracked as the words left his peeling lips, a reminder that he had not spoken to a living soul for a goodly long while.
Sir.
Mr. Vandemar.
And you may call me Phyllis, Mr. Vandemar. The same one of them London establishments. We don't run such luxuries. Are you not wanting something a touch stronger, sir, to warm your soul on this night?
Felice had an amber bottle uncorked in readiness. A heavy glass to receive the volatile liquid was poked in his general direction.
I need my wits about me, so sadly no. Although tempting, I must not compromise my mind.
Then a phlegm-cutting anti-phlegmatic. Timberdoodle is then, sir. I'm known for me mixing in these parts.
I bow to your greater knowledge of this category of spirits, Madam Felice. I am quite at your mercy here.
Felice's ampleness bumbled around the bar, her mock cap barely containing yarns of mousy hair. She talked chirpily as she worked.
Pies? We have pies to settle the appetite. I bake 'em myself. I can recommend the pork. The hog was freshly butchered this morning by my very own hand.
A woman of many talents, Felice. A spirit mixer and skilled with a butcher's knife. Yes, I shall partake in a hog pie.
I am a farmer's daughter, sir. I raise my own hogs and kill 'em swiftly. They know no pain. Would you require a room? I have one guest. Great comfort he is too. A detective. There's a murder being apprehended, all very exciting. Our village rarely gets such attention.
Mr. Vandermeer looked at her from over the rim of his spectacles, his hat now removed to reveal a shock of grey hair, slightly too long for fashion. He waved his hand in a flourish and flamboyantly threw down his gloves.
A murderer, you say? Well, I'll be damned. My business will be concluded before the stroke of midnight, though, and then I shall be gone.
The roads are difficult, Mr. Vandermeer, and, considering the circumstances, I would not be riding out on such a night.
I've been summoned to do business, and I am duty-bound to honour it. Rarely do I make a personal appearance, but tonight I shall make an exception, as long as my price is paid in full.
And what business is it you're in exactly?
No business of yours, please. Not yet, anyway.
That'll be 2 pennies.
I shall indeed give 2 pennies for now. The timberdoodle is good.
Her sausage-fingered hand was crossed with copper, palms ingrained with dirt. Under her ragged fingernails, a colony of life was being cultivated. Handmade pies, indeed. At this thought, Mr. Vandermeer coughed and swallowed hard. The involuntary acid in his throat burned its way to his stomach.
Actually, perhaps the pie was a little ambitious.
He discreetly cleansed his mouth with a handkerchief.
I shall eat at a later time.
Suit yourself.
Finbarton Manor. Would the main lane lead me directly to it?
Why, yeah, but they ain't taking callers there. Not now. Only the detective has been. Lord Lovage did the deed, you see.
The cosy tavern bar-room became smaller, as if the walls themselves crouched to hear. Mr. Vandermeer raised an unruly wire-wool brow. The girl retreated a step from the counter, her demeanour abruptly dampened.
He is the murderer?
Vandermeer leaned in to make up for the lost distance. There was barely a hair's breadth between them, forcing him to inhale her unwashed odour.
Indeed, he is the murderer of Lady Rebecca Lovage. I was her lady maid. I made a most terrible discovery one morning. I say he did away with her. She was on the opium, you see. He had quite enough of her hysterics. I reckon he'll be at the end of the hangman's rope soon enough. Left his service and came to work here, Mr. Vandermeer. I shall never get over what I saw that terrible morning.
Her eyes darted about the room before speaking the rest.
But he protests his innocence. Curses the devil each day for taking her so soon. He did do it by my reckoning. There was no other soul there that night.
Her acrid breath delivered words like a secret upon a foul breeze, barely audible but highly effective when received. Mr. Vandermeer's long, gnarled fingers curled stealthily around the amber bottle, and he poured.
My services have been called upon. I'm here to deliver.
Well, why didn't you say so? You let me prattle on. You're a man of the law, then.
To serve the law, I require information. Prattling on is good.
The girl looked down at the glass, which had now been silently slipped over to her. One gulp and the shot was empty. Her dulled nerves, tongue and lips felt a warm flow of blood, which heralded a deluge of indiscretion. By the stroke of 11, she was slumped behind the bar, her words spent. Vandermeer made his exit via the Hogshead kitchen door and slipped Felice's butcher's blade beneath his cloak. Scene 3. Finbarton Manor. Finbarton Manor was a shell of its medieval former self. The grand studded oak door a mockery, alluding to protection. But what use was it when the thin leaded latticed windows afforded little security from intruders or the biting cold? Missing diamond panes spoke of neglect, like absent teeth in a stump-littered mouth. Ivy choked the walls, the crumbling shortbread bricks held by a tendril embrace, forever in mortal peril of tumbling. Mr. Vandermeer appeared at the door. He stopped to check his pocket watch. 12:15. Time was not in abundance. The heavy brass knocker resisted, encrusted with a mixture of verdigris and grime. A heavier hand was applied and a limp, unsatisfying clack followed. He resorted to a bellow of words through the side window.
Time is short. I cannot wait in the cold, my lord. You called me, I came in haste upon the wind.
He waited, knowing no further utterings would be required. His words had hit fertile earth.
Go away! Now!
I don't think you want me to do that, my lord.
Then I shall get my servants to escort you from here immediately.
I have received knowledge that they indeed left your service, driven away by your deranged wife. You are here all alone, unprotected. So I shall be permitted entry, if you don't mind.
But I do mind.
You appointed me some days ago, do you not recall? I made inquiries in the village. I believe you still require my services.
I am a continual operatic level of drunk these days, sir. I do not remember one singular thing, except that I am indeed alone in this world, and I carry the blame for it. I'll surely hang.
Then allow me to remind you, we have a contract. Here, open the door and I'll show you. All that remains is for you to sign and we can begin. Or end, whichever way you wish to view the situation.
End what?
An end, my lord, to speculation, accusation, an end to things unended, an unfinished conversation. And I love you, Rebecca, left unsaid. Laments, regrets. Have you not lain awake at night wishing you had a second chance? Did you not put her in that room, alone to beg Beelzebub to take away the pain? That you were not accused of her murder?
It was for her own safety. She was going to kill herself. Because of the addiction, the opium. I did everything. I'm a decent man. An innocent man. I must have forgotten our correspondence, sir. Please forgive me.
Yes, you did everything you could to strip the room and her of danger. Yet still she died. You thought you did everything. But the mirror remained on the night of the blue moon. Now, open the door.
I do not believe we have been formally introduced, sir. You do have a familiar countenance, though.
Mr. Vandermeer, the dealer, at your service.
The door creaked in protest as the rust-locked hinges scraped open. Stale air tinged with wood smoke escaped into the night, and Mr. Vandermeer stole inside. Lord Lovage's ravaged features hinted at a once handsome face, a noble jaw, a Roman nose. His long, unkempt ebony hair was a dark storm about his face. His white lace-cuffed shirt, soot-streaked, billowed around his dwindling frame.
And you shall call me Jeremiah.
Inside the great hall of Finbarton Manor. The great hall held onto its grandeur, the cavernous stone fireplace presiding over the grey-flagged cathedral room. A fire burned, meagre for the Inglenook surroundings, and a threadbare high-backed chair crouched in its wake.
I have but one chair. The rest I have burned as fuel. Apologies. I am a poor host. Please, do be seated.
I warned you, once you signed this contract, there will be no going back.
Despite paying handsomely, many mediums have tried and failed, sir, since her death 1 month ago. I do not remember our correspondence. However, I sent many letters in desperation. At this late hour, you're my only hope. I shall be arrested and charged at break of day. Please, sir, prove my innocence. Help me see what happened on that night. But I fear I cannot pay much.
Money is not my price, Jeremiah Woolwich.
Sadness cleaved the features of the withered young lord. Mr. Vandermeer opened up a wooden box. It unfolded into a writing slope, complete with inkpot and quill. He settled it upon a stout table.
You should sign here, if you will, with haste. There are two documents to sign.
The pocket watch was checked, snapped closed in a businesslike manner, and slipped into his waistcoat pocket.
10 minutes until the stroke of 12.
Jeremiah Lovett clawed at his stubbled chin with a feverish intensity. Doubt furrowed deep into his brow.
I need to clear my head first and think.
Sign the documents. Here.
The quill was standing to attention in the pot. The capillary pulled the ink ready for deployment. With a tremulous hand, Jeremiah Lovett scratched his name, and the deal was done.
To the room. Hurry.
Mr. Vandermeer swept his black velvet cape across his frame. Thus he became the dealer. Lovett led the way, labouring upon each sunken stone tread of the spiral staircase up the turret. Icy winds littered with snow blasted through the unglazed, arrow-slit windows, lit by a full blue moon. Scene 5. The murder scene. The tower at the manor.
Here, this is the door.
From his pocket, Lovett produced an ornate, ancient iron key and plunged it into the Gothic spring lock. The door swung open speedily as if forced from the inside.
I can't go in there, though. I've not been in that room since she passed 1 month ago.
You can, want to, and will. You called upon me. Place yourself into the room immediately.
It's exactly as I left it. Exactly. All she wanted was her dressing room mirror. It was an ancestral anthem belonging to this castle, so I allowed that one fancy. Just one night, I said, until her urges settled. And then...
Lord Lovett steadied himself against a wall, put a lace handkerchief to his mouth and gagged.
Police, her lady maid, opened the door and found her dead. Murdered. Her eyes removed. Her tongue cut out.
And a neat scar at the nape of her slim, pale neck.
She died in your care, in your trust. You were supposed to be her protector. You might as well have done it yourself. Perhaps you should just hang.
I blame myself. I do.
Then you should pay the ultimate price.
I would never have hurt her on her head.
The ancestral mirror was intact. Its ornate gold-leaved frame bordered the jaded glass. The moon was high. The ice air splintered as the dealer Vandermeer cleared his throat, his vapour breath hitting the mirror like rain, gathering in misty droplets. The rivulets cut through the grime. Lord Lovett held his own breath so he could analyse Mr. Vandermeer's face. The dealer's glasses were perched on the prominent hawk bridge of his nose. His hooded eyes, magnified beyond the lens, gave the impression that he could see more of Jeremiah Lovett than he could of him. Watching, analysing. Abruptly, a moonlight shard struck the mirror in a blue razor beam.
It's 1 month exactly.
Mr. Vandermeer placed a bony hand upon the Lord's arm.
And the moon was high, just as it is right now. As Rebecca stared upon her pathetic, opium-racked image in the ancestral mirror, which was transformed into a magical glass on the night of the blue moon. But how was she to know that? She called for the devil to rid her of her agony, just as you did.
A magical glass.
Now, my lord, come, step a little closer. Here, upon this very spot, just where she stood on that night, the blue light of the moon will be your guide. And you must call me too, once more, as you look deep into your reflection. She will come.
Jeremiah Lovett stood, his tarnished image spotted and shrunken. The cold blue light picked out his features, old beyond his years. He regarded this image, then darted his eyes around the glass. Mr. Vandermeer was standing close at his side, yet he displayed no reflection. Lovitch chanced a nervous glance at his guest, still there. Then a snap of Vandemar's gnarled fingers, and the young lord's attention was back on his own reflection.
You may call upon me now, and we will be done. Trust me, no doubt will remain in the living soul's mind that you are indeed an innocent man. Your detective will make the necessary conclusions in the morning, and you will be absolved.
Oh, thank God.
No, thank me.
Oh, I cannot thank you enough, Mr. Vandemar. Why did the devil not take my soul instead? He is welcome to it. I'd do anything just to see her one more time. Please, let it be so. Torture me no further, Mr. Vandemar.
And how beautiful she is.
Rebecca stood, her radiant image, a pre-Raphaelite maiden, cheeks blushed with youth against skin of alabaster, her russet hair flowing in flower-strewn braids.
And you may take her hand. Go on. Reach through the frame. Do as we agreed.
And she'll speak of my innocence. Will the name of her murderer be on her lips?
I believed you to be an intelligent man, Lord Lovitch. Our contract is that I demonstrate the events that occurred on that night and reunite you with your wife. That was the deal. There is no murderer, sir.
What? But we had a deal. You said I would be proven innocent. Is it because I cannot pay your price?
What I did say was that money is not my price. Did you not read the contract before you signed?
You know that I did not. You took advantage of my bewilderment. Hurried me.
Then let me refresh your memory. I, the unsigned, who willingly relinquished my soul ad infinitum to the aforementioned entity hereby known as Mr. Vandemar, and not exclusively known as the following: Lucifer, the Prince of Darkness; Beelzebub, Lord of Flies, the Antichrist, Father of Lies, Moloch, or simply Satan. The service I accept unreservedly is demonstration of circumstances of Lady Rebecca Lovitch's death, that she did call for the devil to take her tortured soul in the presence of a conduit, a cursed mirror that connects this earthly realm with that of Satan. Signed, on this day, Lord Jeremiah Lovitch. So, without further ado, I must insist on my price being paid. So, you must join with her in death.
I signed 2 contracts. What of the other?
The other contract is of little consequence to you. I must insist on payment, as agreed, now. No more hesitation.
I will destroy the mirror then. There will be an end to this.
Lovitch sprang forth, grabbed the frame and pulled it to the ground, where it lay upon the stone, still intact. Rebecca's mouth cried out, but the words fell silently upon the charged, prickling air. She reached out her bloodless white hand, eyes dark and cold as she looked upon her weak husband, the lackluster love. She pulled him to her, their cold indigo lips touched, as his eye sockets darkened as deep and black as her very own. She pulled him through. The deal was done.
2 souls, yet I am unfinished. There is a rule of 3 to observe. A 3rd soul must be collected to satisfy the case.
Scene 6. The Hogshead Tavern. Sounds of glasses and a drink being poured.
Like I said, strange man if I ever saw one, Detective Wyndham.
The body of Lord Jeremiah Lovitch is being examined as we speak, Felice. It has all the hallmarks of his wife's fate. A face with no eyes, tongue removed with the precision of a surgeon, and a scar at the back of his neck. But at least there is a suspect this time. The mysterious Mr. Vandemar, who arrived in this hamlet late last evening upon a horse. Yet, strangely, no hoof prints remain in the snow.
We said they had unfinished business. Something about a contract, Detective Wyndham.
And perhaps he was a physician after an unsettled debt for laudanum. They ran up quite an account with many people. Strange, though, that the tavern last night was busy, yet you were the only soul to see this man Vandemar.
Well, I spoke to him at quite some length, sir. Can I interest you in a freshly made pork pie, Detective? 2 pennies. Butchered the hog myself.
With this butchery knife?
No, there it is. I thought I'd misplaced it.
Found. Discarded in the bushes.
How odd. I keep it in the kitchen.
In the bushes outside Finbarton Manor. Strange that I came into the bar just before midnight to seek a nightcap and you were not there.
I retired to bed, sir.
You admired Lord Lovett greatly. A handsome man. You had relations.
Lady
with him.
Rebecca made that man's life a misery, Detective.
You were the only other person there at the manor the night Lady Rebecca was murdered.
Detective Wyndham.
This man, Vandemar, you constructed him to throw us off your tracks. I believe that this knife, your butchery knife, is the murder weapon. This puts you there, in the frame. Felice, it is my sad duty to escort you from this place to Holloway Prison, until such a time that we locate this Mr. Vandemar to rule him out as a culprit.
Detective Wyndham, please. I didn't kill them. It must have been Vandemar. He stole my knife, can't you see? I think I can track him down. Lord Lovett summoned his help. There was a contract. Letters must have been sent. Allow me to help you search the Finbarton Manor rooms.
To find this?
And what is that exactly?
There was indeed a contract, Felice. A contract or last will and testament signed by Lord Lovett, found in the great hall of Finbarton Manor this morning, leaving the manor house to one Felice Pinkerton upon his death. Now, shall we make haste before the fall of darkness?
Curse the devil himself. I'm innocent, please. No, I had no knowledge of his will, please.
And so we leave the hamlet. The deal with the devil was done. A word of caution before you sleep. Be careful not to call the devil's name to prove your innocence or for a love to unite before a cursed ancient mirror in the blue moonlight. Felice did hang for a murder she had not committed, and the pennies from her eyes were paid to the wrongly acquitted.
You have been listening to Murder at Midnight. Helen Jones's The Contract. Performed by our murder players tonight is
Mark Porter playing Mr. Vandemar.
Raina Geyer playing Felice.
Andy McQuaker playing Detective Wyndham.
Luke Morgan playing Lord Lovett.
Floyd Kennedy reading the narrator.
Thank you very much for listening to Conjure Online's Murder at Midnight.